Sometimes you just don't know if you should scream or cry. We're going to cover two provinces, two very important provinces up here in Canada, and I understand that I'm servicing I was just looking at my analytics on the channel, about 30% of my audience here, but because I live in one of these provinces, and you guys kind of can expect this sort of treatment if Biden rigs himself in the United States. So this is just kind of foreshadowing what you can expect in January, because as you can see here, there's no need to worry in Ontario right now until 12:01 on Boxing Day, which is December 26th, by the way. There is no need to worry right now. Just continue to socially distance, wear your mask right now. The only thing is, once Boxing Day hits, then you should be scared, because they are going into, like we covered yesterday with the UK, in the London area, the greater London area, they're going into a tier 4 lockdown. Yeah, that's what's going to happen in Ontario. And we're going to break down the numbers. We're going to break down the numbers in Ontario and Alberta. But the more pressing issue right now is the absolute police state that is going to be enacted in Ontario right now. So, first and foremost, a crackhead's brother who is in charge of the largest geographical and population-wise province. Yes, Doug is the brother of Rob, and for some reason he's the leader of the Conservative Party of Ontario. And just like Boris Johnson, he pissed away all of his support by just becoming a lockdown bitch. But it's hilarious what he says here. So yeah, Ford announces province-wide lockdown across Ontario starting Boxing Day. So for the next few days, all the way until Saturday, don't worry about anything. Just continue to do exactly what you're doing, but be very, very afraid starting Saturday for either 28 or 14 days. So it's so fucking stupid, guys. Ontario Premier Doug Ford announced a second full province-wide lockdown Monday afternoon that will come into effect on Boxing Day. The announcement comes as the province deals with an average of 2,276 new cases of COVID over the last 7 days. Oh, dear Lord, be afraid. An increase of 23% from last week. More testing, more cases. There you go. But far be it for me to just, tell you what's actually happening. We'll just let Doug Ford continue to scare the living shit out of you. The lockdown will begin December 26th at 12:01 a.m. Will take place for 28 days in southern Ontario. That is where all of the major population centers are. That includes Toronto and all of the outlying cities there, the Hamilton, Windsor, basically where all the population in Ontario is. But it's conspicuous in its absence when it doesn't include Ottawa, capital of Canada. Once again, rules for thee and not for me. 14 days in northern Ontario. So they already know that this is going to be bad, and they're going to have to lock down for the guts of a month, just starting Saturday. Do you start to see that they don't even know what the fuck is going on? Okay, and we're going to put a pin in this last half here, and we'll allow only essential businesses to open, similar to the lockdown seen in March. Keep that in the back of your mind here for a minute. We saw this morning's modeling that our COVID-19 numbers are continuing to accelerate at an alarming rate. Despite restrictions, we've seen growing numbers of people traveling throughout Ontario. Won't you just wear a mask and stay at home? Ford said the cases were traveling from places with high case counts to low case counts, along with a 70% increase in hospitalization and an 80% increase in ICU visits in the past week. Okay, we're going to have to go through these numbers here in a second, but I just want to finish this. Above all, we need to preserve preserve capacity in our ICUs and hospitals. You might be a little bit furious by the end of this, but we'll just let Fathead say his piece. It said it was an increase in cases to put on his government on the verge of canceling elective surgeries. Why? By the end of this, you'll be of the same opinion, hopefully, if you can do basic math. Ford also expressed concerns over the new strain. Of course, they're already starting to fearmonger up here. Yeah, buddy. And just expect Democratic governors to do the exact same, or soft rhinos like Doug Ducey, Brian Kemp. Insert your governor here. Ford called the lockdown a temporary but one-time measure in response to the exceptional circumstances, like the ones that were in March. A temporary but one-time measure. Do you really think it's going to be one time? Do you really think that these are going to be temporary? And you can already see the unrest going on right now. I might talk about this more extensively somewhere along the line, but there were people that stormed the Oregon Oregon, the state of Oregon Capitol building, over their lockdowns right now. And they are not quite as bad as the London lockdowns right now. So I think we're getting to a point where people aren't going to take this shit much longer. And when we see the actual numbers, instead of saying, oh, that's up 70 and 80%, those are big numbers, we should be scared. Oh, man. They don't tell you this kind of stuff. All they're doing is just give you these fucking raw numbers. Oh, there's 1,100 new cases. Oh, the 19 people in Alberta have died. And we'll get to that in a minute, because when you see the people who are dying and where they're dying from, like I always say, it's unfortunate that anybody's dying, right? Obviously. But I don't want to spoil this, but they're fucking ancient. Well, here, I'll go ahead and spoil a little bit of this. All of Ontario's 17 new COVID deaths announced today were long-term care home residents. Ancient motherfuckers that would have been knocked over by a stiff breeze, okay? I'm sorry if it's your granny. I'm sorry if it's somebody that you loved. But you had to know shit like this was gonna come. And it's even more destructive when you can't go see them in their final fucking days. There's nothing worse than that. No, actually, I take that back. Not being allowed to see your family members leading up to your potential death is even worse than that. You live a long and fruitful life. You do everything that you have to, and then you get told by authoritarians that you cannot have your loved ones by your side while you wither away and die because of something so fucking stupid as these lockdowns. That's even worse than dying from this shit. Anyways, Ford announced on Friday that he had requested an emergency meeting with the CEOs of all the hospitals in Ontario, and I want you to listen to what's happening on the ground within the hospitals, within ICU units. Fuck him in the mouth with a rock. Anyways, I got the raw numbers here. Okay, Ontario reports 2,123 new COVID cases, 17 new deaths, yes, as lockdowns approach. And this was written before Fathead gave his stupid lumbering speech, and I'll save you all that. You can go watch it, and as he tries to cry and be fucking emotional. I guess that's what fucking Tim Hortons robot thinks emotion looks like, but whatever. Ontario reported 2,123 new COVID-19 cases on Monday and 17 deaths, a decline from the previous 3 days' data, as the Ford government prepares to announce a widespread lockdown to prevent breakdowns in the healthcare system. Yeah, then you got the local breakdown. Of course, there's more in Toronto, Peel County, York Region, Windsor and Essex. Those are, the major hub areas. To give you an example, it'd be like breaking down the New York City areas where it'd be like, okay, Queens has this many, the Bronx has this many, Brooklyn. That they're all basically within the same geographical area. Like, okay, if you know what Ontario looks like geographically, everything's all in that little panhandle area. That's where the bulk of the population rests, but I digress from that. That's not terribly important. Ontario reported 2,316 new COVID cases on Sunday, 2,300 on Saturday, and for all intents and purposes, 2,300 on Friday. Whoop-de-fucking-do. There are now more than 19,000 active cases in a province that has nearly 15 million residents, but lock everything down because 19,000 people have got the coof. The highest number ever been, obviously, because you keep counting the same fucking numbers for this cocksucking thing. It's not like a regular flu season where it goes from, I forget what it is, October until March. I think that's what the normal flu season looks like, but we just keep counting in perpetuity until, I guess, the end of time. Until after everybody gets vaccinated and the fucking Great Reset gets confirmed and you'll own nothing and you'll love it. Man. Nothing quite pisses me off more than this stuff, because it is just such an encroachment on everything that I love at such a rapid rate. Like, there is nothing that I love more, sorry mom and dad, than personal freedom and liberty. And this is just such an assault on that. Words escape me. Yeah, with 4,167 known deaths. Most of those are in long-term care facilities and also very sick individuals with several comorbidities. And 134,867 recoveries. So if we just keep doing these fucking lockdowns, which don't work, and keep telling people to wear masks all the time, which obviously, because masks work, is why we keep having to go into these lockdowns in perpetuity forever. We're at a point where, let's just say, for nice round numbers, 150,000 people have had the coof, okay? Some of them have died, most of them have recovered. This rate, we'll probably reach herd immunity by 2030? by the time Trudeau wants to kill off the entire economy anyways. But as you can see why there's more active cases out there, provincial labs completed 54,000 tests, down from a record 69,000 on Sunday. That's how many they're doing on a regular fucking basis. Yeah, and for every test, about 5% of people test positive. Now here's where we're going to get into the numbers that might make you cringe, should make you cringe if you can do, like I said before, basic math. Hospitalizations were back up over 900 on Monday after several days of declines, with 265 patients across Ontario in intensive care and 152 of those breathing with the help of a ventilator. Okay. 152 people are on death's door and on a tough situation. Oh, to just be more accurate, the province says that there are 915 people in hospital with, COVID-19 symptoms. So that would be their hospitalization numbers. Okay, we got this from Health Ontario, Ontario's fucking official network, or official whatever website, their government-funded, state-funded horseshit. Now, this is from the end of October, so they're going to be adding over 760 hospital beds across the province. That doesn't take care of everybody that's currently in hospital, but that does dig into quite a bit of that, an overwhelming number of that, a lockdown-worthy percentage of it. But how many were there before? New beds announced today were in addition to the $234.5 million investment for 139 critical care beds and up to 1,349 hospital beds included in Ontario's fall preparedness plan. 1,300 people can be taken care of in hospital. This brings total investment to $351 million for more than 2,250 new beds at 57 hospitals. So since the start of this pandemic, 2,250 new beds have been installed. And how many people are in hospital right now? 915? Yeah, under half of the new beds that have been installed are filled. That doesn't take into account the old ones. If the entire point of slowing the spread was to make sure that our healthcare system wasn't overwhelmed, I think having half of the new beds that you are installing, that you are paying exorbitant amount of money for, has successfully made sure that this is not spread at a ridiculous rate that people cannot come in for. Now, because we have this real shit socialist healthcare system where you can come in and get whatever you want, you just have to wait years. Fathead Ford was saying, oh yeah, we might get rid of elective surgeries. I think I covered that. That was in the post-millennial article or one of those. If you have half of the new beds that you installed and you're taking a look at getting rid of elective surgeries, you aren't going to be getting rid of any positions for any of the physicians or the nurses that are in these socialist systems. This is just going to be a bigger burden on the tax base, which is already being fucking strangled because it is over 50%. I can't be 100% sure. I know that it's over 60% in Quebec, but it's goddamn close to that level, if not a little bit lighter. It's somewhere between 50 and 60%. So I know that it's right around that there and over in Alberta, which we'll get to in the second half of this blood-boiling fucking video. When it comes to Alberta, we're at like 35% for most people up here anyways. But yeah, here's a number of the actual beds that Ontario has. 2019-20, there were 141 public hospitals serving the province with around 34,700 beds. Of these beds, 22,400 were acute care beds, which included 2,012 beds configured for critical care. And we are worried about 915 people being brought in with COVID symptoms. We are worried about 265 patients in intensive care, 10% of those beds being filled. And there are more ventilators than soy lattes at a Bernie rally. Honestly, fucking disgusting. There's no need for these lockdowns. And if it was such an urgent thing, those lockdowns would be going into effect tonight. So, it's so fucking retarded. And then we got to go over to Alberta where we got some more bad news. I never thought that I'd sing the praises of the United States Supreme Court, but at least they upheld religious liberties, unlike a church, or rather a bitch, saying that churches cannot be opened. Calgary judge rejects legal challenges of Alberta's COVID-19 restrictions, canceling Christmas. That's just CBC trying to be clickbaity and headline grabbing. That's Judge Karen right there. Calgary judge has rejected an emergency application seeking a stay of Alberta's public health restrictions to curb the spread of COVID-19. It'll never be curbed. It'll never be enough because guess what? Look at how many comments they have on this fucking post here, because everybody comes to the CBC in order to be scared, and all they want is just your clicks. They don't give a flying fuck, and it doesn't really much matter what they put out there because it gets subsidized overwhelmingly by the federal government. Man, fuck. Including bans on gatherings and mandatory masks. Ugh. I just gotta leave it there so you can all share my pain. A Calgary judge will issue a decision Monday afternoon, already has, after hearing an emergency application seeking an order that would nullify Alberta's COVID-related public health requirements, including restrictions on gatherings and mandatory masks. Lawyers for the group of plaintiffs, including 2 southern Alberta churches and a Calgary gym owner, say the province's COVID-19 restrictions violate their constitutional rights. We don't have those. What are you talking about? The group wants Court of Queen's Bench Justice Ann Kirker. Shouldn't that tell you how cucked our entire country is? The fact that we still have a Court of Queen's Bench? Who's the Queen of Canada, by the way? Yeah, exactly. Oh yeah, but we got our independence. Fucking stupid. Ahead of its hearing on the constitutionality of the restrictions, Kirker will issue her decision at 2:30 p.m. Mountain Time. Yeah, didn't turn out good. So it'll eventually make its way up to the superior courts in Canada, but who fucking knows? They're probably just going to cuck us out as usual. So anyways, yeah, we got to see how much fear and terror, because we've been under fucking stupid stringent lockdown since December 8th or something. I don't fucking remember. At this point, this entire year's been a total blur, but it hasn't been a complete loss. I mostly loved 2020 because I mostly just focus on my own individuality and improving that, so I'm sharing it with you guys as well. Fortunately, I got to get heated every once in a while. Alberta reports 1,240 new COVID cases, 9 more deaths. Let's just get to the deaths because they're hilarious. 9 deaths reported by the province on Monday were November 26th, a woman in her 90s linked to an outbreak in Staywell Manor in Calgary. December 17th, for these two, men in their 80s linked to an outbreak in Capital Care Dickensfield in Edmonton and Shepherd's Care Kensington Village in Edmonton. December 18th, a man in his 90s linked to an outbreak in Lifestyle Options White Mud in Edmonton. These are all long-term healthcare facilities, by the way. December 19th, a woman in her 80s and a man in his 70s. I don't know how he identifies, so I just wanted to cover my bases. And the woman was at Hardesty Care Center in Edmonton, and the man was in Kinnawas, some native name, Place Lodge in Edmonton. And December 20th, oh God, we had 3. A woman in her 90s, a man in his 90s, and a man in his 80s, all in long-term health care facilities, except one was at the Royal Alexandra Hospital in Edmonton. Like I said, the youngest man there, the spryest of them all, was in his 70s. Not 70, in his 70s. Could it have been closer to his 80s? We don't know, and we'll never know. But it doesn't really much matter. They're just trying to use that to make you fearful. We're going to do a similar breakdown because, these lockdowns were just supposed to last until, I don't know, January sometime. But because the fucking chief cuck for Alberta is Jason Kenney, and he's just going to bow to the fucking NDP party. Meanwhile, they just shit on him all the time. Ugh. If I have to hear from Rachel Notley again, I will fucking install a Kurt Cobain sunroof in my head. Anyways, don't be shocked if we compare numbers here and it's something similar to what happened in Ontario, but I just want to show you that this is totally province-wide. I like Saskatchewan. Manitoba is just boring Alberta, but everything in between, it's similar numbers. Feel free to check them as well. But as we can see here, December 20th, nearly 800 people are in hospital, including 151 in ICU beds. And we have a shade over 21,000 active cases. There's like 4 million people in the province anyways, and like 100,000 people have fucking survived the Kung flu. Okay, here's the numbers we need to know. 106 acute care hospitals, 5 standalone psychiatric facilities, 8,515 acute care beds, 27,774 continuing care bed spaces, and 256 community palliative and hospice beds, 8,785 addiction mental health beds, plus equity partnership of 41 primary care networks. What are the important numbers to take a look at? 8,500 acute care beds and the 27,000 continued care bed spaces. 800 people in hospital. Less than 10 fucking percent. Less than 10 fucking percent. I just got this last article pulled up here from CBC, or from CTV rather. Same thing, just different letters. It says that we're going to have 600 ventilators here, and that was at the middle of March, so we have well more than that. And I hope that gives enough for 6 people per ICU bed. So, or 6 ventilators per ICU bed. Man, oh man. Wish we had a catchy slogan like 1776 would rise again, but I'm telling you guys, I understand that these lockdowns don't really affect me that much, but I see the effects of this. I don't drive very far. I just go to the grocery store and come home and do work on these videos. But I can see the effects of just driving downtown and seeing all the businesses shuttered, seeing the tents pop up and the fucking bums just everywhere in this fucking city, and it's disgusting. And we're like the 7th biggest city in Alberta. I think it's something like that, give or take, top 10 at least. And I can only imagine it's probably worse in Calgary and Edmonton, but hey, continue to lock down because those are totally working. And according to Rob Ford, Doug Ford, whatever, they basically look the same, so forgive me if I'm confusing the two. This is only temporary and a one-time lockdown until they realize that, I don't know, vaccines aren't effective at stopping the spread, so you're just going to have to continue to wear masks in perpetuity forever. It's so fucking stupid, and I don't know how much more people are going to take. I know I'm pretty much at my boiling point. I think you guys can probably tell that, but this is a fun little update. And if you guys made it this long in the video, I thank you all very much. And unfortunately, you probably live in Alberta or Ontario if you did this long. So yeah, if there are lockdown protests near you, first and foremost, enjoy the holidays and celebrate them however you deem necessary. You know what I mean. And now that you know all the story that 10% of these acute care beds are actually being filled by COVID patients, there's nothing overwhelming about this whatsoever. Anyways, guys, we're going to try to cover something different and maybe a lot more fun in the next couple of videos. But I thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.